welcome back to another fun Saturday here at the Coriander Quilts studio. I have my special guest, Tigsy, joining us for the beginning of this video. He will have to move out when we get on to, well, not move out of our house, move off of the cutting table when we get to the tutorial portion of today's video, because it is the third block release of the Coriander Quilts Cali & Co. Mystery Block of the Month. Block 3 is coming out today, so I'm going to be sharing that block as well as the tutorial later in the video. We're going to kick things off with some fun viewer quilts, viewer questions. I've got a beautiful Coriander fun find. You guys sold us out of our backdrop from last week, so I've got a new backdrop to talk about. Giveaway winner for those Cuddle Up sampler blocks, a new giveaway. This video is jam-packed full of things to chat about, so stick around. All right, let us start off with these backdrop quilts. You guys sold us out of the patterns from last week's backdrop, so we've got a new one up already 1 week later. What we have here, we've decided to offer just a small backdrop bundle of just 3 quilts for our new backdrop. Here on my right, we have Handiwork. This quilt features a bloom fabrics. It's a layer cake friendly quilt, plus it utilizes the panel from a bloom. That line of fabric has the prettiest little stitched panel that I will be talking about in more detail. I have some fun things I haven't shared about yet that use that panel, so I'll be chatting more about that panel in the upcoming weeks. But the quilt today is part of our backdrop bundle. It finishes at 68 by 85. As I said, layer cake friendly. It actually uses 60 10 by 10 squares. So if you had a bunch of scraps in that size that you wanted to use some larger pieces, you could certainly do that. Next up, we have one of the Barnstar quilts. This is Barnstar 5. All of my Barnstar patterns are 40 inches square. So this is an example of that here. This is yardage based. You'd be purchasing cuts of yardage for this quilt. And then last, tucked over here, is Hourglass Scraps. This fabric line is Peachy Keen. I didn't mention the Barnstar fabric line, which is sun washed. This is Peachy Keen. For this quilt, you can use either a layer cake or a jelly roll, whichever is better for you. And it finishes at 60 by 72. I will tell you, this one looks trickier to make than it is. It does have a lot of piecing, but the way I've constructed these blocks is a little bit unexpected, and it comes together faster than you might think. Not fast by any means, but faster than you might think. So that is our new backdrop. Those are available in a bundle or available individually, and all linked in the description box below. Before I share about some of the viewer quilts that were sent in, I wanted to chat about a Coriander fun find. And this week it is not sewing or quilting related at all, but rather it is cooking related. I recently purchased 2 cookbooks that I am just very tickled with, and I thought maybe some of you might also enjoy a beautiful cookbook, so I thought I would share these with you. I purchased this one first, Food from the Heart 2. These are by Heidi Matson and Anne Traffy, and I don't believe they're available to purchase anywhere else other than Etsy. At least I wasn't able to find them anywhere else aside from Etsy. So I will link to them, both from the same authors. And the reason I purchased, this was the first one that I purchased, which is the second book, is because an Instagrammer that I follow was chatting about these breakfast bowls that she was making that sounded so tasty. They featured feta cheese and sweet potatoes, and I think she said sausage and eggs, and it just sounded so nice. And so she linked to the cookbook. I put it in my shopping cart and mulled things over. I am a mull over purchaser. I tend to put things in my carts and I will think about them for a little while and then decide if it's something I want to purchase or not. So I had it in my shopping cart for a few weeks, and then I decided that I wanted to go ahead and purchase it. And I'm so happy that I did, because it is just a beautiful cookbook. Right at the beginning, I thought this portion, there's just a few pages of I don't even know what you would call this, where they have laid out a few different recipes, and then, so this is bring a new baby meal. They've laid out a few recipes and then said, what you need to do the day before you're taking your meal for the new baby, and then what to do the afternoon of, and then just a little write-up of that that recipe. I am not selling this book very well at all. Hopefully you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. I just thought it was so clever the way it started out with this. So bring a comfort meal. And then, you know, the recipes to use the day before: take your chicken out of the freezer to thaw, make bread. That's optional. You could, of course, purchase bread, or I know around here it's easy to find homemade bread that you can purchase. So if you didn't want to make your own bread, but it does have some really nice homemade bread recipes in here. And then just like tips: make chocolate cheesecake bars. These are best when super cold. So just a little tip like that is helpful to know in advance. Write a card, give a simple gift like a candle, little nice tips like that. And I just thought it was so nice. So there's a few pages of this, and then that breakfast recipe I was talking about is actually this one right here on page 42. And I really thought it was nice the way the recipes were set up with the ingredients and then the instructions on the other side. They're all set up that same way. Just makes it really easy to see what you are needing and what you are doing at a glance. And the pages are nice and thick. This is a nice, sturdy, well-made cookbook, which I also appreciated. So I purchased this one, looked through all the recipes. I haven't actually made any of the recipes, so I guess I can't say if any of the recipes are good. They look good and they are beautifully put together, and the photographs are beautiful, but maybe the recipes aren't as tasty as I think they might be. I think they're going to be, because the ingredients look great. As I perused, I just think there's a lot that I would like to make. Maybe I'll have to do a follow-up video after I've made several recipes and let you know how they've turned out, but my guess is that they're going to be great. So then I purchased the second one, and just as beautiful as the first one I purchased. So this is Food from the Heart. So many fun, good recipes. And I just found myself leafing through thinking, oh, I would love to make that. That sounds tasty. The one, I don't remember which one it is, had a bunch of like taco recipes that sounded good. This chicken tortilla soup recipe looked really good. Lots of salads, good sandwiches, breakfast items, just really pretty. I just thought it looked really pretty. So that's my coriander fun find. I do think I need to make a few of these this week and touch base again and let you know if I enjoyed them. I'm going to start with that breakfast bowl because that just sounded lovely. And then we're just going to go from there and see what else I find to make. But there they are. Food from the Heart and Food from the Heart 2. Right, let's go ahead and move into the viewer quilts that you guys have sent in for us. I have a few different ones to share. We're going to start with Rachel G. She sent in 3 different quilts that she's made using either my pattern or my fabrics. So the first quilt you're seeing is Purry Stars. She made that with Motabella solid yardage, and she says that one is a gift for herself. Those are always nice. I think as quilters, we tend to make a lot of projects for others, but sometimes we don't make a quilt for ourselves. I know it was a long time until I had a quilt that I would say is my quilt, and you know, I've made lots of quilts and I just never made one for myself. And then my grandma made me one, and that one is really special. She's made me more than one, but those are always nice, the ones that we received from a loved family member. But sometimes it's fun just to make one for yourself. And so I thought that was neat. The next one she shared is made using Lori Holt's Hometown Sew Along, made with Buttercup and Slate and Springbrook fabric. This one was a gift for her husband's boss. The last quilt is Turnstile, made with a curated patriotic fat quarter bundle from Fat Quarter Shop. She said she substituted the churn dash for a friendship star to keep with the patriotic flag theme. And this one she gifted to her brother who was in the Army. Those are all lovely quilts. I always print out little pictures for myself so I can see what I'm talking about, and I just think those are all so pretty. Mary W. says, after the Buttercup and Slate Sew Along, I used leftover scraps to make this table runner and placemats. I used pattern from this book. It used 5-inch squares. I modified the pattern to use 4.5-inch squares to make placemats. I think this would be beautiful with our scraps from this new sew along. So the Cali & Co mystery block of the month that I am sharing here in a little bit is what she's talking about there. And she says, thanks for coming to visit every week via the internet. I think we are so fortunate to live in a time where we can chat and have wonderful communication back and forth. Even though it's not in person, we still get to create friendships and have wonderful companionship through the internet. And that's so neat. I enjoy sharing with you guys every week, and I love hearing from all of you as well. Darlene J sent in this project she made using small scraps. She said, I had 3 Springbrook charm packs and 1 layer cake of coriander seeds. I made a simple half square triangle and squares top. It's what I did with the scraps that I am sharing. So this photo that you are seeing is what she made with the scraps. I recently watched a video on Sew the Distances channel on using itty bitty scraps. Mine weren't really itty bitty, but they were probably about 3/8 inch or less. I fused these with the pinked edge exposed onto 4.5-inch squares of fusible fleece. I joined the squares with a zigzag stitch, then added a backing and quilted with straight line quilting in a 1-inch grid. I thought it turned out really cute and would definitely do it again. So a wonderful way to use your small scraps. Next up, we have 2 quilts sent in by Anita Z. She says, Corey and Nicole, I made these 2 non-identical baby quilts for identical twin girls. A friend at church is due in May. I only made 4 blocks instead of 9 because I thought it was a better size for the babies. Your woolly stars pattern is adorable. The fabrics are random, and I reversed the body and sashing to make them distinct. The backs are pieced with pinks and whites. I thought black was a good choice for binding. And then last we have a photo, 2 photos sent in from Joanne T. And she says, I used Peachy Keen along with some of my stash to make the Riley Blake 2024 block challenge. I was working with a fat quarter bundle and I have a lot left, so I am also using it in the Cali & Co mystery quilt along. So you see both her quilt sampler that she made and then the first block that she made of the Cali & Co mystery block of the month. So thank you so much, ladies, for sending in your quilt photos. Anybody else who wants to send in photos is welcome to do so. I have Nicole's email address in the description box, and you are welcome to send them there for us to feature in an upcoming video. Next up, let's do some viewer questions. I have just a few that I picked out to answer today. This first one tied right into something that I was working on last week, so I wanted to start with that one. This comes from Leslie Stokes. She says, Hi Corey, love your quilts and videos. I have a question. How do you wash your quilts? What temperature/program do you use? And do you line dry or use the tumble dryer? Many thanks. So last week I was preparing a quilt for donation, and when I gift a quilt or donate a quilt, I always like to include quilt care instructions along with that quilt. So I had a printable that I thought I had saved to send along with quilts, but in our move, I somehow lost the labels that I had printed out as well as wherever I had that saved so I could print out more in the future. So I went ahead and made up my own care card that I could have saved on my computer and send out for future quilts that I'm sending out. So I'm going to link to the PDF over on my blog. So if you also like to include care instructions with your projects when you gift them or donate them, you can. Not every quilter does exactly the same way that I did, but this is the way that I like to let people know to care for their quilts. So, quilt care. Your quilt has been pre-washed for extra crinkly goodness. I do prefer to pre-wash my projects before sending them to the recipient or the charity, partly because I don't pre-wash my fabrics and I don't want to send something that I know is going to have problems with bleeding or anything like that. So it's just a way for me to double check and make sure that there aren't any bleeding issues. I don't anticipate that there will be, but I would hate to gift something and then have it not wash up nicely on that first wash. So I do like to pre-wash. I also, because I don't pre-wash my fabrics, I like the idea of getting out any chemicals that might be left in the fabrics, or if I have happened to starch, you know, getting rid of those chemicals in the starch. And the fabric detergents, the fabric detergents. Is that the right word, Nicole? Why doesn't that sound right? It is laundry detergent. Laundry detergent, there we go. I knew something didn't sound quite right. The laundry detergents that I prefer to use in those circumstances would be something unscented and something sensitive. So very, you know, skin friendly and fragrance friendly for whomever you might be donating or gifting that to. So I do pre-wash and then follow the care instructions. I pre-wash the quilt before sending it away. And then follow the care instructions below for future washings. Machine wash cold, gentle cycle, mild detergent, add a few shout color catchers to help prevent color transfer. So I would use those color catchers in my first wash, and then I would include several shout color catchers along with my little care card when I'm giving the quilt. And then tumble dry low or hang outside to dry, but not in direct sunlight. And snuggle often. So that would be the same approach that I would take for caring for my quilts. And that's that. So I will have this little care card over on my blog that you can download and print out if you want to, if that would be helpful for you to use for your own quilt giving. And then what do we have next? From Jerry Pollock, a very similar question. She says, thank you, Cori, for taking your time each week to visit with us. What is your method for washing completed quilts? So I just answered that one. Donette Hill says, question please, regarding red and other dark colors that may bleed when a quilt is washed. I have a fear of using these colors. What are some prep ways for these colors to not bleed in quilts? I use scrap sizes up to large yardage for quilts. Do you even worry about it? I so need to get past this fear of bleeding. Thanks so much. I love your videos and your patterns. Best wishes to you and settling into your new home. Well, thank you so much for that, Donette. We are settling in very nicely. Last week or the week before, Eleni said this house already feels homey, which is great. I wasn't sure how long that was going to take for it to feel like home, but it really does. We've settled in very nicely. We still have garage and shed things that we need to organize. And I think hopefully by the time you guys are watching this video, some of that has happened, because this week here in Ohio is beautiful. We had been waiting for nice weather and warmth outside to tackle some of those outdoor projects. And I'm really hopeful that when you're watching this, we have been successful with some of those projects. Now, about the question in regard to bleeding and colors that may bleed, I would really suggest that you pre-wash those fabrics, reds, purples, navies, some of those fabrics that are notorious for bleeding. Just give them a pre-wash. Then you don't have to worry about any unexpected bleeding in that first wash. That would be my suggestion for those colors. And then that, I have one more question, but I'm going to save that because it is in regard to something we do during our tutorial on the Cali & Co. mystery block. So I'm going to save that one, hopefully not forget to answer that one. Maybe if I fold this just so, I will be sure to remember that. And the last thing I wanted to share here before we dive into that new block and tutorial is the winner of the Cuddle Up Sampler blocks. I had, let me grab this here, grab a couple things here actually. You'll remember a couple weeks ago, I was giving away my pesky number 11, as I called it in the video, because I just didn't want to finish these blocks. And so I had a giveaway. It ran through last Friday, and I drew my winner this week, contacted my winner of these blocks, and hopefully also by the time you guys are seeing this video, these blocks are in the mail to the winner, which was Ashley V. And I was excited to read her comment. It kind of made me laugh a little bit because she said that she also has a pesky number 11 that she has been putting off, and it is Halloween blocks. And I told her, well, Nicole said actually that she can substitute her Halloween blocks with some new Christmas blocks, and that can become her new number 11. And then when I messaged Ashley, she commented that her husband said that her Halloween blocks were haunting her. So maybe we can just move those Halloween blocks out of the way and she can work on her cuddle up sampler blocks instead. But I thought that was cute that she said that. So these blocks are headed out to Ashley. They are the cuddle up sampler blocks. And I'm excited that they're going somewhere where they have a much better chance of being put into a quilt and loved and appreciated than they were having here in my house. I thought it would be fun, since we are wrapping up that giveaway, just to go ahead and kick off another giveaway. So I am going to give away the January 2025 Sew Sampler box that I received. If you want to enter this giveaway, I'm going to show you in just a moment everything that's inside this box. What you will want to do is go over to my blog. I have today's blog post linked in the description box below this video. Go over to today's blog post and you're going to want to leave a comment, and you will have until Friday, the 21st, which is this upcoming Friday, to enter to win. And then the giveaway will be closed. And then I will draw a winner who will be announced on my blog on the 29th. So that's how the giveaway is going to work. When you are leaving a comment on the Coriander Quilts blog post, you will scroll all the way to the bottom. That's where you find the box to enter the giveaway. Now, here is what is inside this box. These are the Sew Sampler boxes. So this is a product by Fat Quarter Shop. And we have a pattern called Fresh Start. We have these 3 charm packs, Sunday Brunch by Basic Gray. There is a pack of needles. These are Milliner's needles. Spool of thread. Not sure this brand, Scanful. Am I saying that right? This is not a brand I'm familiar with. I haven't tried this out, but it does say it's an organic thread. This little card that you'll receive does tell you more about everything that's in the box. So you'll have more details in there. Hot cross buns, paper piecing pieces. And we have the basket pattern. This is included in all of the last few months of the Sew Sampler boxes, and at the completion you will have, if you've received all of the boxes, you would have, I think, 12 different quilt blocks to turn into a quilt. And then here is the pattern, hot cross buns, which goes with these little paper piecing pieces. So all of these goodies, that's what was in the January 2025 box. And this is what you are entering if you enter the Sew Sampler giveaway over on my blog. And that is that. The winner, if you happen to win this box, I do contact you directly via email. You'll be leaving your email if you enter the giveaway, and I just contact you directly and get your little prize package sent off to you. So that is our new giveaway. If you like the idea of doing these giveaways every 2 weeks like this, let me know. We could certainly kind of make this a regular feature. And I know I enjoy giving things away, so if that's something you enjoy too, let me know. We'll see if we can make that happen more frequently. All right, next up, I'm going to get my table reset for the Cali & Co. Mystery Block of the Month tutorial. So let me get that ready to go. This is today's block made using Tilda fabrics. I think this one turned out so pretty. I'm excited to share this tutorial for you guys. The pattern is over on my blog. It's printable, free PDF pattern. So that is linked in the description box as well. So you can grab your free pattern. If you still need blocks 1 and 2, those are also available. Those will be linked in that same blog post, in today's blog post. If you need the calendar of dates so that you know when upcoming blocks are being released, I have that linked below, as well as fabric requirements linked below. So if you are brand new to this quilt along, you can still grab all of the previous resources that I've shared. I'm going to start off by talking a bit about fabric choices. This tutorial video is going to be quicker, like last week's was. I'm not going to go into as much detail about the piecing. If you need help with piecing, or if you want to hear my thoughts in regard to some of the different steps we take as we piece our blocks, the block 1 tutorial video goes into the most detail about the piecing. And then because we do a lot of the same steps every month, I'm not going into as much detail in the following months. But I do want to talk a little bit about choosing fabrics, because that changes just a little bit every month. The one thing that I wanted to mention that I did when I was picking my fabrics is I went and laid out all of my 3-inch squares and then my 4.5-inch squares, because I wanted to see how my colors were kind of shaken out at this point in time. When we are pulling from a bundle, like what we're doing right now, it's pretty easy for us to kind of choose our favorites every month. And that means we might be choosing similar colors every month, or we might be not choosing a certain color every month, just kind of without even thinking about it. And so I wanted to see exactly how my colors were allocated so that I could choose wisely. And this is something you might want to do periodically, just to see how things are. If at this point in time I wouldn't have had any pinks left, or I wouldn't have had any, whatever left, I would know right now that, hey, I need to stop putting all of my pinks in one block, or, whatever problem I might be running into. So you can see here, I have a fair amount of these low volume prints, so I need to be a little bit more thoughtful about making sure I'm including plenty of those in my blocks. And then I was also able to see which colors I didn't have as much of. And then I chose accordingly for this month. And so after I had laid everything out, then I went and I chose my A squares first, and then my D squares second, based on what I thought I needed to use from over here. And then when I was choosing B and C, I just made sure that I, had a nice color variety in addition to what I had already picked out. So that's how I approached picking this month. We need 16 A squares. Again, this month we're making double half square triangles. So we're going to be using half of the half square triangles we make today in this block, and then we are going to save the last half to use in an upcoming block. So we're making a lot of half square triangles, and let's just go ahead and get started on those. It's the first thing that we are going to be doing in our pattern. You'll see here in step number 1, we are pairing together A squares and E squares to make our half square triangles. I have marked my sewing lines on the back of my A squares, and I'm going to pair those with my E squares to make my half square triangles. We are going to be trimming all of them down to 2.5 inches square, and we are pressing our seams open. I have half of the half square triangles laid out. They've been pressed and trimmed and laid out according to the block diagram on page 2. Now this is where that question comes into play that I saved. It's from Kelly Hamlet. She says, question for Cali & Co. block of the month. With the duplicate half square triangles we are saving for future blocks, do they need to be kept in separate sets? Block 1 duplicates, block 2 duplicates, or can we just keep a big pool of duplicate half square triangles? You can keep a big pool of all of your extra half square triangles you are making every month. They don't need to be sorted in any particular way. We're going to be addressing those in upcoming months, but for now, just all of those extras that you're making every month, just keep them all together. So this is half of my half square triangles that I made this month, laid out and ready to be sewn together. These are going to get sewn in horizontal rows, pressing as our diagram shows, and then you're going to sew all of the rows together and then press those in one direction. That will complete the block center, which should measure 8.5 inches square. Here is our pretty little block center. That's what the back of the block looks like. And there's the front. Now, before we move on to the next step, I wanted to show you this. When I had originally mocked up this block, I had planned on reversing my darks and lights. And so I wanted to show you that in case you thought, hey, I think I would like to reverse my darks and lights. This is what it looks like. So you can see we have the white center in place of the colorful center. And then the star points here are in the white as opposed to the brights in my version. I like the way this version looks better in the overall layout, but this one is also a very pretty block. So if you prefer to switch things, you can see what it would look like. I wanted to share that. And now we are just going to go ahead to the final few steps here in our block. You probably know what's coming, and you've begun to realize by this point in our block of the month that all of our blocks are going to feature this fun little framed out border. We're going to be doing the same thing this month, and we're going to be doing that same block border in the months going forward. So we need to take our little center. We're going to add F rectangles to the sides. And there we go. Let me straighten you up. And then we're going to add G rectangles to the top and bottom. After we sew those on, we're going to sew B to the left and right. Oh, I'm going to put you over here. I actually might swap this one out. I'm going to do that when I go over to my sewing machine because those two prints are the same, and I didn't notice it earlier, but as soon as I set that there, I noticed that. So I'm going to swap that out for a different print when I go over to my sewing machine. So we'll have our two G's, is that what I said? Our two B's on the left and right, and then our C's on the top and bottom. Probably put this purple one down here and then that blue one at the top. So I'm going to grab my other rectangle I need here, and I am going to get all of this portion sewn together. That's going to take me through step 2 here on page 3. Here is our almost complete block. It should measure 12.5 inches at this point in time. The next thing, the last thing we need to do is add our corner squares. So the same steps that we've taken in previous blocks. I have my diagonal lines marked on the back of my D squares. And just like we did in previous months, we're going to sew these to all 4 corners. If you have questions and you want to see specific how-tos about these corners or more details about trimming the half square triangles, those sorts of things, you would want to look in the block 1 tutorial video. That's where I shared about all of those in more detail. I'm going to put you down here like this. So we're going to add these to all of the corners, and then I'm going to press and trim and show you what this is going to look like. And here we have our completed block 3 block for this month. So this is the Cali & Co version, and then we have the Tilda version. Some of you have asked which fabric lines I'm using for my Tilda block, and I'm not using just one. This is a whole bunch of different fabric lines mixed together, all Tilda but scrappy, and then Cali & Co here. So, and then I thought it would be fun just to take a look at the blocks we've made so far, these first 3. So today's block in Cali & Co and Tilda. And then last month's block was this one right here. There we go. And then the first month. So that is how they are shaping up. If you have missed any of the first blocks, as I said, those are still available. You can download and print those out and sew whenever it's convenient for you. They're all over on the Coriander Quilts blog. Links in the description box below. The next month, our block 4 block will be released, and that date is April 19th, always the 3rd Saturday of the month. That calendar that I mentioned earlier, you can print out, and that gives you all of the dates for the whole year for when the blocks are released. If you have any questions about the block today, or if you have any other questions that you would like answered in the viewer question portion of my videos, feel free to leave those in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. I will catch you again next time.